Blockchains burning bright in governance debates. Whistleblowers. Theo left the meeting. Fuck. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna start. I don't want to sing anymore.
Oh my, that was something.
Okay, welcome to the Myriad of Chains, everybody. Um,
Hello,
uh,
Decentricity.
Hello. Yes, it's time for a Christmas episode for our tech podcast, Myriad of Chains. And I tried to sing earlier about blockchains blowing on the digital fire and stuff or whatever. Um, Not
That's
King
gonna be that's
Cole, everybody. Not not
that's
King
gonna be
Not
Cole.
that's gonna
King
be a
Cole.
Myriad exclusive. You got to go in
No,
Myriad to see that.
no. Welcome to the Myriad of Chains Christmas special. I'm your host, Decentricity, the digital spirit of the season. And joining me today are the brilliant minds who navigate the intricate world of tech and politics. We have the visionary leader steering the ship of innovation, Jean Daniel Gauthier, the CEO of Myriad. Danny,
I'm clapping for myself. Look at me.
okay,
This is my ego.
we we also have the voice of reason in the world of bytes and ballots, our esteemed advisor and Michigan's very own political maestro, Josh Powell.
Also,
We
with a really radical sound problem.
Yeah,
Ooh,
you have a problem, Josh. Oops. All
this
right,
is something.
Was
all
it?
right.
What happened?
Too much energy.
Yeah, you began popping and cracking and smacking or something.
I just
Yep.
unmuted my mic, so I don't know
It's
what.
I think it's just chestnuts roasting in an open fire. Okay. We also have the former newspaper magnate, the jiu-jitsu specialist, and puller of legs, like Christian Smith. Hey, Chris, still there?
The dose of wisdom for you there.
Thank you for that nugget of wisdom. Um, Tonight, we're mixing the warmth of Christmas with the heat of debate and tech, from blockchain blowing in an open fire. I'm gonna keep doing that. To the chill of political winds, we're singing a different kind of Yuletide today. So let's gather around the fireplace and talk about how we're gonna do this. Danny, do you want to share a few things that has been posted on Myriad Social, on the Myriad
So
of Shades?
the thing is, I think it would be better if you share the screen because since I'm responsible of the
Oh,
recording and things.
good.
You know what's happening. I just want to tell our viewers, if you've seen other episodes, we were on Zoom. We're not on Zoom anymore because we don't like them anymore, and we are looking for a much more decentralized application to do all our video stuff. But in the
And then
meanwhile,
we chose COVID because it's very decentralized.
yeah. Um, I'm not noticing this, and in in the meanwhile, we're using like complete normies Google Meet, and it comes with the utter incompetence of me being able to manage the live recording on Google Meet. So everyone is gonna have to share their screen but me, and I'm gonna look at OBS like the good little editor I am at this point.
Thank you, my friend. All right, I'm going to be sharing my screen now then, and I'm going to be sharing it on Myriad. If you have stuff to share, please do import to Myriad, guys. So since that's what I'm sharing, since this is the Myriad of Chains, not the Facebook of Chains. Okay, so what do you want to talk about? What do we have?
Oh, we have. Well, what do we have on the timeline? Imagine a world where every company, organization, and team is aware of the areas of genius, competency, and frustration within their members. Oh my god, that sounds very
Oh, like this?
corporate.
Yeah,
Take your team through
there's a
walking
corpo in our
checks.
midst.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
good, I guess. I
it's
mean,
awesome.
it
Yeah,
takes like a village, right?
it does. Let's take a village. Oh, dude, like I love this. I love
Right?
this.
The
There's
space just
a bunch
yeah,
of new users.
yeah, and they like it. So we're happy about this. At least I'm happy.
Yeah. Oh, I posted this one about the CEO of IBM. And
What
this
happened?
is this. So I like a lot of you know I used to work for IBM. I spent like 6 years there, and so this is a video you can watch it on Myriad. But basically, if you're an IBM leader and you don't hire diversely, like if you have too many white men, I guess you can basically be fired by the CEO of IBM. So or take away uh, bonuses. So that's, I mean, when I worked there, I mean, I'm female and I'm not white, so it was to my advantage, obviously, to my advantage, right? That's how I got assigned to all the cushy jobs and whatever. But like, yeah, this is unfair. I'd like to hear the boys' take on it. What do you guys think?
Well, I was gonna ask you what you thought. I mean, does that
Well,
did that make you feel like you earned your that you had less, like, does that make you feel less skilled?
I
Like
kind of do. I'm sorry. Like, I kind of feel like, like they discriminated on behalf of me, but I didn't ask to be discriminated on behalf of. Does that make sense? So I kind of feel like, you know what? I could have um, gone all my roles just by being me, not by being female. So yeah, I kind of feel like I like there will always be a shadow hanging upon me. Like when you look at my LinkedIn or whatever, oh, 6 years at IBM, like as a territory general manager, or as a senior technical manager or whatever, as a senior consultant. Oh, that's because she's a girl. Have you seen this video from James O'Keefe? Like, have you seen Arvind Krishna say this? I mean, it's just like it just makes you. I never want to use the gender card. I hate using the gender card. It's idiotic to use the gender card. But these are like, this is one of the reasons why. Um, I'm never active. Like for example, in like the crypto female communities, Ethereum, uh, women in Ethereum, like even women who code or whatever. Um, because of these things, because it's like, yeah, it should be based on merit. Do you have merit? Like if you don't have merit, you shouldn't be in here. You shouldn't be coding, you shouldn't be doing things, you shouldn't be making. It's not because I'm female that like they think like my farts, like, okay, I'm sorry,
Smoke
I'm
rolls and
sorry.
stuff. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm not,
This is
cut
not
that,
OnlyFans. Hold
that
on.
bad analogy, like, yeah, I
And we're
mean,
out of bottles.
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, my point is, this is actually terrible. First of all, this is actually terrible for feminism in general, because this is not a feminist thing. It's saying that women can't make it. It's saying that non-whites can't make it. Like then that's dumb. We can, like, if we're given a chance. But the thing is, like, we're not. Like, this is underestimating us severely. Just and I know Krishna's an Indian himself, right? And he's not a white dude. The thing is, like, you know how many CEOs of like Fortune 500 companies are Indians, and especially tech Fortune 500 companies. There's a ton, and it's like, yeah, dude, like it's already like, why do you have to talking about systemic racism? This is actually like this what he's doing is actually systemic racism, right? Because it's systematically based on race, treats you differently because you're white. So yeah, yeah, not a fan, not a big fan, no. What do you guys think? I mean, yeah, what do you guys think, as as men, as white men?
White man over 40. Yeah.
Over 40,
Speak for yourself.
gray hair.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's a strategy of divisiveness.
Oh, what? Sorry, Christian, can't really hear you. Like,
It
speak
is a
closer to me.
strategy for
Hmm.
divisiveness.
That's
It's
true.
to it's to perpetuate the distinguishing, the highlighting of differences, and it's to breed resentment and separation as opposed to unification. As screaming about this inequity and the systemic racism is the manufacturing of those things. It's not that
Yep.
they exist, it's that you're creating that and trying to sell it for people to believe, for division. And I think, if you look around the world, it's the Western nations that have been basically having this shoved down their throats, particularly the US. And you can see that through other issues where these nations are being targeted for dismantling. And I think at the end of the day, it's all about destroying the Judeo Christian ethos on which they were built.
But Christian, ironically, then like it's also the Western nations that are pushing this woke stuff on us, right? Like
No, I'm
all the
saying
diversity talk is actually coming from the
you're
U.S. It's not
close.
coming from Indonesia or.
You're close. It's the driving mechanisms that are forcing it into the Western nations that are not being seen as it looks like that new Western culture, which has been shoved down their throat, is bleeding over into these other countries. So I go to some other countries, around Asia or wherever, and I talk to people and they say, wow, look what's happening in the United States. Look how they've become so immoral. Look how they've become so divided. Look how they claim there's systemic racism and all this other crap. And we know that it's not, but why are they perceiving it to be? And what I say is, look out, because that same value system from that same elitist cult that's driving that down into the social reengineering is coming to a town near you.
It's coming to a town near. But Josh, well, Danny, did you say your mind? Like, I think I don't think you've commented, Danny. Like, as a resident communist, what do you think?
So I think that HR process in many companies are completely busted to begin with.
Hmm.
On Myriad, um, at the height of our team, we had organically something like at least 40% girls, and
That is
yeah,
true.
like
That is
we
true. Mirror was made by women, and
yeah
not because we hired women, like because we wanted women. We hired women because they're good. We're people who are good, and if they happen to be women, that's good.
yeah yeah. But the thing is,
That's
it's
me.
like because during the hiring process, we don't we never looked at the name or the religion or the whatever. We just looked at the performance and whatever. But I think when it comes to bigger corporate entities, when it comes to the general rule should be that when you send a CV, um, your age shouldn't be taken in account unless maybe you're geriatric, and maybe that would be like if you apply for construction job at 80, maybe there is a risk there. But
Mm.
your name, your age, your gender, your origin, all that is completely irrelevant to the job. It shouldn't be on your CV. Shouldn't be on your CV, and then it would solve the problem by itself. You wouldn't have to wonder whether it's this or that group of population that's being hired
For
or
the for the Americans, what's a CV?
the what.
Resident.
I said for the Americans,
Okay,
what's
curriculum
the
vitae,
CV?
job. What would you?
We call it a resume.
Oh, resume. Right, right. Yeah, yeah. Okay, resume. Yeah, your resume should be completely anonymous and completely devoid of any personal information except your hobbies or whatever. Like any identifying traits should be removed. To my mind, that would put everyone on the same level. Then there is a problem of like population. Like there is always this argument Um, I mean, as a person who knows like a modicum of history and contemporary history and everything, like it's not possible to say that we haven't the West, right, hasn't set a couple of population for failure in the last, I don't know, like 400 years. So I do think that there are some population that, without being infantilizing and without being condescending, that came up with a rough start, and I don't think that there were measures taken to even out the odds for these populations. And I'm not pointing at one particular, like everywhere that was colonized, everywhere that was exploited, and it's still being exploited sometimes somewhere. Um, and it's leading to a lot of things. It's leading to a lot of controversial arguments, saying like, "Oh, these or that population, their IQ is lower, or they don't perform." It's not holistic. It's not holistic. It's not. I think there is a lot of bias there, and I think holistic measures should be taken to prevent this kind of things. That's kind of another debate. But yeah, the IBM stuff, like, remove identification from CVs, focus on performance, and you drop the problem entirely. That's my point
Josh,
of view.
What if it's less
what do you think?
technical and more like being a fireman?
Mhm.
Nothing against firemen. I'm just saying, what if it's less technical and it's something like being a fireman?
Hmm.
Well, if you can run a marathon and bench press like 300 pounds and whatever, I don't care if you're a fireman or a fire cat. You'll save me all the same. Just prove you can do it.
So you got five guys who run the same time, lift the same weights, have the same IQ. Which one do you hire? They're all five different ethnicities.
I wouldn't know their ethnicity, and then at some point I'll just throw dice.
One guy's named Juan, one guy's named Muhammad, the other guy's named John.
I
Which
don't
one?
want to know their names. I don't want to know their names. I don't want to know their religion. I don't want to know where they're
You're,
from.
you're applicant A5 B9.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I want numbers, and then when they come in, there are people. So when they come in, there are people with their sensibility, their cultures, everything. This is, I respect it, like with the with priority and stuff. But yeah, but there. Before they're hired, they are just numbers, and I don't I want to know more about that. Bias gone.
Hmm. Well, I kind of sort of agree with you, Danny, and like in most cases, but there are sort of like cases where like your background might be relevant. Um, some of your personal background stuff would be relevant to the job at hand, and I think that's what Christian was angling towards, like by you know connecting it to a fireman. But yeah, I mean, some of your personal background would be applicable to know about. But I do agree with you. Like at that stage of the hiring process, at least at the beginning, like you should hire based on meritocracy. I think meritocracy should trump overall. Um, but that's not the only thing this is talking about, though. Arven is actually telling, like if you watch the video, also like it's not just hiring on IBM. You can hire internally, you can hire externally, right? Like people know my gender in IBM, for example, when I was there, and I could be hired to another division, and there's no way to anonymize myself or de-identify myself when I'm already working for the company, right? So in practice, that's not something that can always be done. I just wanted to make a point on that. I do agree with it. Yeah.
There's another factor. If you've ever been in a position where you had to hire people,
Mm,
um, you'll discover very quickly that a CV or a resume can say one thing and it can be glowing and it can be true, but
mm,
when you actually meet the person, they do not have a command of those things. And you wonder how the hell they even got them put on that CV. And when they're
mm,
put in a position where they have to exercise those disciplines, they can't. Or you find out, okay, that this person knows the skill set very well, but they are so damn antisocial or got some other fucked up problem that you wouldn't want to have them, right? They're just too divisive or whatever. So it's like you'd like to think idealistically, like it's just as simple as looking at CVs, no names, no other criteria. Oh, look, this guy's got the skill set, hire that guy. But you can't without interviewing this person, finding out, what's behind the glass. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
agree.
I do agree with that too. But that would be a good first step.
So the thing is like there's a lot of discussions we can have about this one post. We do have a limited time. I'm gonna switch over to another post. If you guys have thoughts, go ahead. Like I put the link in our chat already. Like I just write down the comments. I promise I'll get back to this. And just look if you guys added comments. I'm loading new posts though. We have two new posts. This is actually from Josh. Both of them. Um, Josh, would you like to share which one? Like you posted two of these. So which one do you prefer we talk about?
Iowa.
Then Iowa. Is it
We,
Iowa
we
yet?
we could we could we could start with that one right there because that one is on
Okay, sure.
the first one. I'm sorry, the first one in chronological order, so the one
Oh,
below
here. Okay, go ahead.
that. So that one is on the
Let me
Josh
zoom
Powell for
in.
Michigan, which is the first official political campaign timeline
All
on Myriad.
right, pretty awesome. Yeah, it's
Um,
great.
and then that's just showing so our whenever Democrats took over this year or this past year, we had a $9 billion surplus in the state, and we lowered taxes automatically like a third of a percent because that's what the law says is you have to lower taxes if you have a surplus. So they made sure that they spent all of this and went into a deficit this year just so that we
Hmm.
could make sure we could raise taxes next year because they just gave it
Hmm.
away. They literally just announced they're sending every single household in Michigan $700 so they can make sure that they spend all the money so that so that there won't be any so that they can raise taxes next year.
Okay.
Um,
Hmm.
so that's pretty cool. So that's why part of the reason I'm running for
Nine
House of
billion. Wait,
Representatives to stop.
$9 billion and like $700 per person. And
Well,
how many people are in? Like, what's the population? What's the number?
that's not how they're spending all of it. They spend a lot of stuff on a lot of things. Like they gave $1 million to a bunch of different Girl Scout organizations, for instance, for no reason. They gave
Okay. They must like the cookies.
yeah, they what did they do? Oh, they had a $25 million beautification project in my city where they went
Oh.
around planting trees and shrubbery in the beside the roads because that was a necessity to spend money on. They had in Detroit they're trying to beautify neighborhoods where most of the houses are empty, so they're paying people to go around cutting all the lawns. But there's a fixed set amount of money, so it's only going to happen until that money runs out, and then it'll just go back to being overgrown again. So it's
So,
just programs like that, just to spending money just because they want to spend money because they want to be able to raise taxes.
so unsustainable. Like as in stuff that are like they spent it, but it's not for sustainable programs, right? That's what
Yeah, well, I don't know. So this is a
long
this is this
impact
is a
programs.
problem in the government mindset and like all the levels. So I don't know if you guys as countries work the same way, but like if your fire department or police department has a budget and they don't use all of their budget for the year, are they still
Yeah,
are they
it's
still
like that.
allowed
It's like that
to
everywhere. That's universal. Yeah.
where they have to spend they try to spend all the budget at the end of the year, even if they don't use
Yeah,
it?
yeah, that's universal. That's universal
Okay,
too. Like, yeah.
so that's essentially what they're doing this year. That they had the Republicans made a surplus, which there's a lot of things wrong with Republicans in Michigan, but we were good on the budget and we were reducing taxes while having maintaining
Yeah, no,
surplus.
I get your point, man. Like I was trying to highlight what you said instead of like debating you. And yeah, of course, governments everywhere do that. That's what they do.
Sorry, I was distracted by Danny's reaction faces. He needs gifts.
Yeah, okay, go ahead then.
Soon on the 18 plus section of Twitch. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm having network problems.
Are you still there, Danny?
I hope so.
I think he's lagged. He's super lagged. I think you were super lagged when you were.
Yeah, I'm having problems with my network. Hopefully,
Okay.
it's gonna get better.
Well, not cool, but do you like? What do you think about this surplus thing? Like, I was just telling Josh that this is something universal. Like,
Yeah,
government surpluses, that's how they spend them. Like, they want to make sure they get the budget again next year. That's universal. That's not you guys are in the U.S. You're not in another planet. Like, it's universal.
yeah. Same everywhere. Yeah, same in my country and same in my bed. This is what's very funny that the way of spending it is also kind of the same. Cause like, hey, why would we try to, make something sustainable with the risk of the other team getting in for the next round
That's what I was going
and
to
doing,
actually
yeah,
imply. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and doing whatever we, and this is I when it comes to politics and when it comes to this kind of thing, maybe you've already guessed it by now, but I'm looking at systems. I'm not just looking at people or ideologies, but I'm looking at systems, and a lot of systems we have in place are flawed, like at the root. Because yeah, it's nice to say we should do sustainable or we should spend money like this or like that, but the system itself doesn't permit us to do that. So
Mm.
how do we? Because that $9 billion,
That's
what
a
you
lot of
can
money, man.
do is like education, health, infrastructure. I mean, like all the orphans have parents after that. I mean, like well, new parents, obviously, but you see what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they actually did do a lot with. They gave a lot of money to school. I mean, they did do that stuff too. Like they paid for all the school lunches for all the kids for the year, but it
Which
was
is
just for the
nice.
year. And then um what they've essentially this year Michigan spent almost $15,000 per pupil, and all of our test scores went down. So 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 the money doesn't seem to actually help anything if you're not spending it the right way.
The thing is,
um,
this is very funny because I just tweeted something earlier today. Is like teach a man, give a man a fish, you'll feed him for a day, and teach him how to fish, you'll feed him for the rest of his life. But if you do both, you'll make sure that he doesn't starve before getting his first catch. And the thing is, like, it seems like in the common inconscious there is this dichotomy between helping people short term and helping people long term. Well, you can do both. And my criticism of many governments and many programs is either long term or short term, but there is never both. While it's theoretically very possible.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I would say if you want to go down to my first post, we could talk about Pearl Harbor Day.
Yeah.
You celebrate those kind of things? Jesus.
Well, it's like a Remembrance Day. It's kind of like Memorial Day or something.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
So
Oh no, no, I was just pointing. I was just saying that that's what that was. That's a little short video from that just
Uh,
that just goes over like the details that everybody probably already knows 100
let me
times.
add. Let me add to my timeline
this is
just
the
so I.
start of Indonesian independence from the Japanese, yes.
Yeah, that's also it.
Yeah,
That's actually it. That's actually also it. Like from the local context. Yeah.
Yeah. This is
This
really weird how things come together, yeah.
it's kind of weird. I mean, we've been like the world is flat or whatever, right? Yeah.
With all due respect for our Japanese viewers, like it's just we're keeping it historical here.
Yeah.
but
Yeah. There's this other one. Biden Christmas video. What did Biden? Did he sing?
there's an official White House Christmas video. This is the video. You should be able to play it. I don't think there's any copyright because it's like it was made by the public,
Okay.
by the government. But you can mute it if you want or whatever. But so the group that they hired to make this specifically on their website is says they're Marxist, and then they hate whiteness, and they think like they're very pro reparations to the point that like white people should have to work for black people for a certain amount of time. Like that's how radical they are. So
Terrible.
so which is sort of ironic given the point
Yeah.
of reparations. But
Yeah.
but anyways, I thought it fit. I imported it around the time you were talking about what you were talking about with the race problem, but just highlighting that they're like, like this these people probably hate Biden himself, but they just
Mm.
know, they just think it sells, so that's why they're self-destructive to the point of absurdity.
It is absurd. Like, look at this.
Sounds
Yeah,
like a very resentful bunch.
they're very resentful. Yeah, I see a lot of hate and anger. That's sort of like the thing. Like, I know this is a celebratory video or whatever. Like, it's a Christmas video, right? But like, taken in context, it's you know, Angela Davis. Yeah, but like, that's nuts. Post on Myriad. Like, obviously, we welcome from like we welcome communists like Danny, and we also welcome everyone else from the. Okay, so Danny, you before this before the podcast started, you actually had something you wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
That's free speech related, and yet not conservative, right? Like, it's I guess you want to share it? Like, you didn't share it on Mirror. I couldn't
yeah.
find it.
I haven't shared it in Myriad yet.
Why
Okay,
share?
because you're gonna see everything I do on my screen, and it's gonna flicker, and it's gonna like I'm so not confident when it comes to streaming
Ah,
to recording
okay, okay, all right, okay.
from a browser.
Well, yeah. Let's not
So
use.
but like to begin with, like this the thing, it's like as a French, right? We're secular, and okay, Christmas celebrator. Christmas is, to my mind, right? Christmas is not even like fully Christian, like as in the Christian Catholic or Protestant tradition.
It's
To
about
the word
social
of the
thing.
tradition, it's become a social thing, right? Adopted by a lot of different people. Um, but I still feel that anything that is religious should be kept, really should be kept out of anything that's government.
What's your point,
Uh,
Danny? Come on, go ahead.
well,
Yeah,
you wouldn't have
secularism.
this.
Yay.
You wouldn't have this celebratory video. You wouldn't have this controversy. And I don't know. Like, if you want to make a point on doing something for holidays, like with the budget of this video, you can probably do something for like better than that, instead of doing PR and trying to address this or that ethnic group or social group or whatever. Like, do something for it with the same amount of money or 10 times the amount of money. You're the
Hmm.
government, you have funds, like stop doing commercials, stop the marketing, act, do something. If you really care, like, do something. Don't do a video. It's not, you're not a company that goes like, hey, we're with you, we're allies because you need to buy your stuff. And no, you're a government, you're supposed to take care of your people, so take care of your people. Don't do a video. Like, I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit heated there, you know.
Okay. Well, because but like you just said that Christmas is mostly cultural instead of religious.
Yeah, that's why I say, like, even if it's something
But,
cultural, yet for the spirit of Christmas, which is sharing, sharing and bringing happiness. Like, just fucking bring happiness in homes. Don't do a video. Don't say like, hey, look, we are like this, and look, we're like that, and look, we're whatever. Prove it.
okay. Did you also have a recent like a thing that I was actually not referring to this. I was referring to something else. You
Yeah,
said
yeah,
before.
yeah. Sorry, I had to get that out of my system.
Okay. Okay.
No, there was okay, there's somewhere, I would need to have the article in front of my eyes, but somewhere there was a
Hi.
display of
Yeah.
of Satan, because the Church of Satan, that a lot of people know about the Church of Satan. They're a group, religious group. They have pillars to their ideology. They're registered as a religion. A lot of people say they are just trolls because they are deeply atheistic at their core, and they just want to bother Christians and whatever. Other people say that it's a very valid religion and ideology, and it helped them at their core and whatever, whatever. But the thing is, there was this representation of Satan from the Church of Satan, and someone just vandalized it, right? And I went on Reddit. I found that on Reddit on r/conservative, and what was interesting is like within the conservative population of Reddit, there was an infighting that was pretty interesting between like no, but you don't understand, this is insulting to Christianity. There are troll group and whatever. The dude who did that is a hero, and other people were saying like, hey, freedom of speech maybe, you know. And I think it's a pretty cool topic to breach when it comes to the more sensitive areas of freedom of speech.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Sounds like a cool topic indeed. What do you guys think, Josh?
yeah.
Christian? Uh,
Well, look, when you start talking about uh, religion in general, and then specifically Satanism, you're inherently talking about value systems.
hmm,
I think the simplest way to describe the sides from a biblical, using biblical definitions, and that is a defining point. You have two separate camps. You have the value system that is biblically called of God's word, right? Compassion, love, its morality framework of don't cheat on your wife, don't have sex with animals, don't have sex with the same sex, these types of things. Don't cheat, don't covet, don't murder. Well, then you have the satanic view. And even though there are many denominations of Satanism, you have several different satanic churches. You can't really say anymore the satanic church because there's several of them and they
hmm,
mock each other. But the point
that's
is,
true. Yeah.
the easiest way to identify what is Satanism, it's that which is contrary to the Word of God, to the biblical Word of God. Whatever is contrary to that, that could easily be called satanic. So what are we really talking about again? We're talking about values and this whole social reengineering assault against the Western world, let alone America, let alone in Iowa, is the forcing down your throat of a value system that is
Hmm.
contrary to the biblical word, to that what they call conservative now, but it's actually they know it. Satanists know that it's God's way, and they hate him. As a matter of fact, let me just throw this last little nugget in there. I think it was Naomi Wolf. Now, it could be
Hmm.
Laura, but I'm pretty sure it was Naomi Wolf who was saying that she's got these contacts that
Hmm.
she's had for years, journalist contacts, and some of them are in the United Nations. And she was talking to somebody way up the chain of command in the United Nations, and she had to ask him, "What is up with the United Nations supporting the attacks on children, whether it's child trafficking, whether it's child exploitation and pornography, or even right down to even sacrifices and so forth? This shit is really, really happening." And she wanted to know what the hell is up with the United Nations supporting this shit and even driving a lot of it. And he told her, according to her, that at the top of that structure, these guys are Satanists and they
Hmm.
hate God. And they realize that the greatest thing they can do to hurt God is to hurt the most pure of humanity, and that's the children. That's what it's all about. So in a
Josh.
nutshell, you can now say,
Hmm.
well, should there be religious freedom for anybody who wants to talk about the exploitation and everything that's contrary to what we traditionally know as good? Well, you guys can debate that. For me, hell no.
Josh mentioned something about this earlier, like before the podcast. I'd like him to repeat it. Like
Yeah,
uh,
the
yeah.
so well so when you go when you join the military, specifically the army, when you always get Sunday mornings to practice your religion, even if your religion doesn't really do Sunday mornings, like a
Hmm.
lot of religions don't. But that's kind of a bias inherently built into the army. But you're allowed 4 hours on Sunday to do any religious practice that you want of your choosing, and they can't. They don't interfere with you. Then it's kind of like your only free time. But the only one they make an exception for is you have to actually like sign an affidavit saying you're not a Satanist, because and this isn't like modern. This wasn't a modern thing. This is from like I think the 40s or 50s. But that was because back then, if you were a Satanist, like you literally believed in human sacrifice. At least the original, Church of Satan of 1700s, 1800s, that sort of thing. That was taught. So that religion is the only one that's been given like a legal exception, at least in the military terms, for being allowed to be practiced because it incorporated human sacrifice and animal sacrifice, and the military didn't want that in someone like that in the ranks. Now I know that the modern church and of like the new Church of Satan. I think there's like the Satanic Church and the Church of Satan, right? Isn't that like
Yeah, two.
the two
Yeah.
groups
Well,
that?
at least two. There's a bunch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one likes to kill people, the other one likes to troll Christians, sort of thing.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like that's essentially the difference, or at least
Well,
the one of them
to
likes to pretend like they like to kill people. So I don't know, but
punctuate your point on the sacrifice thing, they have now come out. There are branches of the satanic religion that have filed lawsuits to protect abortion because they say it's a sacrament. The sacrificing
Yeah,
of
I
those
heard that.
children is a sacrament.
So, guys, so about the free speech part of things, though.
yeah,
I mean, I guess it all boils down to one question: do you think these guys belong on Myriad? Like, if one day, like the Church of Satan or the Satanic Church comes to us and say, "Hey, can I have a Myriad instance?" Um, what will you guys say to that?
if
I
they
would
want an
say
instance,
yes.
sure, I just wouldn't join it, but
I'm not gonna join it, but like, yeah, I would say okay.
I would say
Chris?
yes because as long as you have it open to everybody, historically, those people and all radical weirdos, they expose themselves in the bullshit that they believe.
Yeah,
And as long as the people who are
it's
rational
important.
thinking,
Mm.
as long as thinking people have a platform to express it to, they can far outweigh and break down and tear apart all those bullshit arguments. It's when you start censoring the opposing view that can tear down those arguments, that's when you're in trouble. And that's what we've been experiencing now over these last several years.
yeah.
And
And
with that,
to get back to Danny's point too, I
mm,
in this specific example because I didn't really address that, I I'm torn a little bit because I don't think that they really believe. I think the group who puts the statues up doesn't
yeah,
actually believe
I
that.
mean,
I think they
they're
just
the
do it to
troll
make a
part of
point.
things.
Yeah, but
They're just trying to make a point. Yeah,
yeah, but I mean, at the
they're
same
trying
time,
to get a rise up. Yeah,
if
those
it's a
people.
government building, then you shouldn't be able to, because you could always argue that anybody's not sincere in their religion. So
Specifically there, yeah.
Mhm.
There are things that like are speech, and there are things that are like vandalism, right? And arguing against a government building, like having satanic symbols in a government building. Like, try that here. Like, try that in a small town. Like, try that in a small country.
another thing too about that most people don't get or that most people miss about the law in the United States is that you have to have a sincerely held religious belief. That's what's protected. So like you can't just say, that was to prevent people from saying like oh I can't
On
pay
the
more
French
than
spaghetti monster, I remember this
yeah
argument. Yeah,
yeah because people are saying like I can't pay taxes because it's against my religion,
yeah, yeah,
like or something like that. So and that was they were using a First Amendment argument for that. So the court did clarify it has to be a sincerely held religious belief. So
Yep.
if
It doesn't sound sincere, this one. And yeah, here's the thing. Like, there's a fine line here, but like, I just wanted to demonstrate that, first of all, like, Myriad, we're for free speech. Like, we're maximalists for free speech. That's sort of like that's why we're here. That's why most of us are here. And the government buildings, though, like, it's there are things that you can choose to not be. And you know what, like, yes, there is free speech, but like, actually putting something that vandalizes other things, like, is graffiti free speech? In a way, it is because you're actually writing a design on something. But like, is it also vandalism? It is also vandalism. So if you're getting rid of something, cleaning up graffiti, for example, you might. It's not that you don't respect the free speech of the person who wrote the graffiti. You're just exercising your own right to property and getting rid of the vandals. That's the fine line, in my opinion.
Mm. In my
As a host,
opinion, mm,
I have an opinion, but yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that's what I have.
in my opinion, it shouldn't have been there in the first place. Would it be satanic or Christian or Muslim or whatever? It's a government building,
Oh,
so keep religion out of it, and
secular.
you solve the problem. That's to. But you know, there is something that kind of bothers me. Like, I lived in Singapore for quite a while, right?
You did, yes.
Yeah, and there is this huge proportion of elderlies working their ass out. And when I'm saying elderlies, I'm saying elderlies, people who have trouble
60 year
standing
old,
straight.
70-year old people.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and as you're having your lunch in a food court in Singapore, and you see a cleaning lady who's about 70, and who's using literally a tray, the tray cart, as
The cart, cleaning cart
the cleaning cart as a deambulator, because you know that she has difficulties
as a
walking.
walker.
Yeah, as a walker.
Yeah,
um, you look at this and you look at the system that this kind of symptom emerges from. To me, that is human sacrifice.
mm,
That is deeply
mm.
and at its root sacrificing the well-being, destroying something that could be beautiful, because old age should be beautiful when you manage to reach it. And that is to say that there are many definitions for many things. People, especially now in 2023, where words are used nilly-willy to define things. If you want to dive into the debate, good versus evil applied to free speech, I would put it that there is no light without shadow, and that in the grand balance of everything, the adversary is necessary, because to me, the devil is the shadow cast by God,
Well, it's the
and it should be it.
This sounds like Zoroastrianism, Danny. Like, it's
But at this point, we won't get rid, unless we get tyrannical. We won't get rid of the adversary unless we do his work for him. You know, you know what I mean. That would
I,
be
I kind of
ironical.
do. I kind of do. I'd like to hear what the others think. Josh, Christian.
Well, I wanna get back just for a second to what Josh was talking about as far as
Sure, sure. Okay.
in the United States, believe it or not, there is historical judicial precedent of people back in the 1800s, early 1900s, that have tried to make a case for whatever they were doing, animal sacrifice, because you know I think even there was some Muslim cases, some famous Muslim cases, and they were doing something that was contrary to law, and they were claiming religious freedom to do it. And the judges ruled, oh, hell no. The laws of the United States are based on a Christian ethos, and you're not going to do it. You can't come along and say, I've got the right because my religion, which is contrary to that, gives me the right. It doesn't. So there is historical judicial precedent about that. But what I want to emphasize too is I mentioned earlier, what we're really talking about here is a battle of values. And there's this old saying that was kicked around forever. It was kind of fashionable to say, you can't legislate morality. Well, that's one of the most retarded things I've ever heard. The existence of law is the embodiment of somebody's value. Those laws are an enshrinement of some value system. So, really, what we're talking about here, and we're watching the, we have watched for over 100 years, I've been watching it my entire life, is the gradual eroding, tearing apart, shredding, rewriting of the moral law in the United States in particular. That's what the one I've been watching. For instance, when I was a kid, even you go back to the late 50s, early 60s, it was illegal to be a homosexual, to have homosexual acts. You could be thrown in jail. And in some places, it was a capital offense. Other places, you were going to spend the rest of your life in hard labor. Now, you could argue all day whether you agree
Yeah, I
with
remember
it.
it.
That's not the point. The point is that there were values enshrined in the laws, and everything that's been happening since is to rip that apart. And when you get right down to it, it's not simply ripping apart the United States, it's ripping apart the value system upon which the United States was created. And that's the Judeo Christian ethos. That's what we're talking about here.
But the U.S. was never a theocracy, though. It's, I mean, the idea of having like, I mean, I've been in theocracies before. Like I've been in like the Middle Eastern states, and legislating morality is just like maybe it's not exactly that, but like it's too close to it to here's me. Here's my personal belief, right? I believe in God. I believe the devil exists. I believe that devil is doing things that like behind the scenes. I believe in all of those. I do believe the Satanic Church has the right to exist and even to promote themselves to troll Christians. I believe in both of these things and I hold them true within my head, even though one opposes the other. It's like, holding two impossible things in my head. But what I truly believe that government should not overreach, and this is very close to overreaching because that's what theocracies are made on top of. That's the foundation of having that. Until the kingdom comes, theocracy shouldn't happen and shouldn't work.
Well, what's worth considering is if you believe all that, and I have to say, I haven't heard anything I disagree with, you have to say, okay, if Satanism is the contradiction or contrary to that God's word, we'll say from the biblical perspective, would you think that it's unreasonable that they would seek to control the levers of power and influence from international banking and corporations and everything else, and use that influence to make the governments do what they want?
Yeah,
I think that's
yeah.
exactly what's happening, and that's why you can't say, "Oh, I think the
No,
government."
I agree. I agree. Which is
All I'm
why I
saying,
believe
I'm
that
saying that you have to take your. I think everybody has to take their eyes back a little bit and stop saying, "Oh, my government is doing things that they're this or that, or I don't agree with, they're satanic, whatever," and say, "Hey, wait a minute, my government is being used like a puppet with somebody's
okay,
hand in their
okay.
butt doing this satanic crap," because that's what's happening.
My point is by reducing power held wielded by the government, we're also reducing that possible satanic power, right? Like because like if their instrument of control is governmental and the government doesn't have that much control, that would be better. And the issue with actually implementing like just Judeo-Christian moralities within, and when I say Judeo-Christian, I'm including Islam in there. Just implementing that inside a governmental system, that is actually super dangerous in my opinion, because that actually allows you to control not just um, administrative government stuff, but also like controlling people, like controlling how you should act, what you should believe. The government has no place in secular theory or practice, in my opinion.
Well, what do you think of Klaus declaring, "We have penetrated the cabinets of half"? He penetrated half the cabinet.
Yeah. Cut that off. Cut the power of the government off. Cut this. cut the snake off at its head. Like that's how you do it. Like remove the agency of governments or reduce it severely.
Well, you'd have
You
to
know,
cut off.
taxation is theft.
You'd have to cut
But
off the WEF and those other agencies that are working through the governments that have imposed their will on the
Exactly.
government. Yeah.
You're actually making the same arguments that I'm making. It's just that I think making the U.S. a theocracy or a moralist state. Moralism shouldn't be legislated, in my opinion, not because moralism is bad, but because legislating morality allows you to control what humans consider moral.
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
yeah,
It's
the,
that
yeah,
value.
there's
How can you not legislate morality? Because legislation is an expression of somebody's morality. So, like for instance, you've got in the United States, as I mentioned, you had it wasn't a theocracy. It was not a theocracy, but they drew their value system from the Judeo-Christian ethos, okay, principles. Um, Now, let's just say they made laws around it. Hey, you can't go kill your neighbor. Hey, you can't go steal his shit. Hey, you can't with X, Y, and Z. Now the question is, well, should you be able to? Because that seems to be where this is all going. Are you, in the name of not legislating morality, actually going to legislate immorality? Because that's what's happened. I've got my right. These guys claim they've got the right to walk down in a parade down Madison Avenue, shaking their
I just think, Christian, like, and respectfully, this is what I think. The only thing that we should legislate is the golden rule, like they do unto others, right? And that's the only thing, and everything else flows from that. Every single legislation should actually flow from that. Every single moral value judgment that is embedded in law should be just based on that golden rule. Like if you kill someone, if you rape someone, if you like steal from someone, that's already part of it, right? But like if you're a homosexual, then like if you're not hurting anyone, that is fine. But like if you're a homosexual that diddles kids or whatever, that's a crime because you're violating like the you're violating the golden rule. So I think that's the only thing that should be, and that's not morality. That's just the golden rule. It's the do unto others.
Well, the effort,
th-
the
there's a
resources that have gone into providing materials for schools, particularly in the United States, to teach kids how to perform every kind of sexual act and what used to be called perversions that there are. So these people who are advocates of that would say, hey, if you don't allow kids to be exposed to this, you're hurting the kids.
Hmm. Okay. Well, the thing is, that is a debate that happens everywhere in like current like moral discussions, and talking about whether like LGBT stuff should be taught in class, homosexual sex and all that. And you know what? There are debates for and against, but that those debates should be had, but they shouldn't be legislated, in my opinion. Like I think free speech should be absolute. You should still be able to speak. And the thing about actually quantifying the harm is an avenue where you can make those debates, like may set up those debates between two parties, between multiple opinions. But that needs to be part of something that's the discussion of the community instead of like just legislating it outright based on Judeo-Christian morals. I still believe that. Yeah, Theo has a comment.
Yeah, regarding that, teaching children about homosexuality and everything. I have this thought that if we, it's not that you shouldn't allow people to talk about it, but if you systemize it in an education system, I mean, what's gonna stop you from doing the next thing, which is like, let's say, yeah, you're teaching children about homosexual like sex and everything like that, but
It's
what's
a
stopping
slippery slope,
people
Ali.
from showing the children like in the classroom what that looks like, or even like acting it out with them. I mean, there is a limit, that there is a line we have to draw, I think, and it's something that even I worry about sometimes in
I
my own
I
country.
concur in terms of that being something that should be discussed, but what I don't concur is like having the state control that discussion.
So
I feel that the community should have that ability to discuss.
Well, I think the state gets involved because of the because if you're forcing, well, at least in the United States, like kids have to go to school. Like police will literally come to your house to get your kid if he doesn't go to school for a certain amount of days. So that's, if you're forcing them to go to a class and learn a thing, then
okay.
then maybe the state should have a little bit more say on the thing.
They
Um,
All
still
but
for
don't have
public
that
I,
good,
I
ability.
did
right?
I did want to shamelessly self promote on the Myriad thing though, because we can import posts from Reddit, so we should definitely link. We should import this post that started the
Yeah,
discussion, and then other people can join the discussion too. There.
we'll do that after the podcast. So the thing is, wait, for this sex thing and children thing. If
Oh God,
you teach children gun safety, it doesn't mean that you make them shoot people. Yeah. So there is a limit when you use a slippery slope argument, which to my mind is not a fallacy because slippery slopes have happened, but at some point
no, yeah,
there is a
yeah.
line that needs to be drawn, and I think if people go too far overboard, there's gonna be a balancing effect at some point. Like people are gonna go like, hey, no, no. But homosexuality is a fact. It's a fact of life. I think it's important that people understand it. Sex is a fact of life. It's an extremely important fact of life. And when it comes to safety, I mean, I'd rather have my kids be a bit uncomfortable at some point than experience teenage pregnancy. Thank you very much. And
Or
I
get
know, hmm? Or
or
what?
get AIDS.
Or get
Get
AIDS.
an STD.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
the argument is also you can teach them that too.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
can teach
I'm,
them, but it's the same thing as like teach your kids not to rape or something. Of course, I'm gonna teach my kids not to rape. Like, but what about other parents? You can't take for granted that parents are gonna educate their kids, and this is why there
well,
is a school system.
like,
Actually,
where I grew up in Missouri, they have what's called an STD only curriculum. So they just teach like safety, and then they teach about STDs. So that's their that's
teach
like
about
so.
look, teach about consent, teach about safety. As for discovering how it's done, like humans have been doing it without a problem, like through millennia. I think it's not very complicated, but at least freaking teach about consent and safety, like and of course, like,
Safety is that's what the STD thing is, the
yeah,
safety.
yeah.
Like, yeah, yeah.
But you need to know the basics, like what goes where. I mean,
Hey, well, let's be clear. This material that's going into school is not limited to the homosexuality. They've got books not only showing child with adult, but child with the actual teacher sex. Right?
Yeah,
Like
I see.
giving the
I
That's
want
all.
to
teacher
know.
a
I want to see
fucking
that.
blowjob.
I I
Okay?
uh I'm not gonna. Yeah, this is here's the thing. I there are limits to what we can discuss in class, obviously, and like there are limits that's like pornographic stuff that are like Theo has his hand up, so I'm gonna go to you after this. Theo, but like I just wanted to make this comment that like I personally like Danny mentioned like the what he refers to as the Florida book banning, and
Yeah,
I told him that it's not book banning. It's just like books that are inappropriate for kids are not put into the list of books that are in the library of these schools,
For
right?
kindergartners.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing. I agree with that. You know why? Because that wasn't legislated. That's actually a choice made by. Well, that was part of what the schools chose to actually allow in the reading list, and like and these included stuff that are good for the children, like and these excluded stuff that they deem not good for the children. It's not censorship, in my opinion. It's their platform. When you legislate against something, and you use the power of the state to control, you're centralizing power to the state. That's all. That's my point. Being 100% pure free speech focused libertarian. That's what I believe. Like the government should have less control and not more. So that's why I seem like I'm in the middle right now. That's because yeah, I agree with with the schools choosing it. I don't agree with the state choosing it. And Theo, you wanna say
Yeah.
something? Yeah.
Um, I want to go back a bit to the discussion about uh, America and the Western world in general being built upon Judeo-Christian values, which I really agree on, which I agree on. And the thing you said about the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Well, I have a demented like way of reasoning about this, so bear with me a bit. So think about it. This is how I thought about it. So yeah, you can say that I don't want to kill people. I don't want people to kill me. So I don't want to. As I don't want people to kill me, so I wouldn't kill them, right?
Mm,
But what if you flip it a bit? Like I don't know if this is too big of too sensitive a topic or not, but like suicidal school shootings, right? So if you're
mm,
suicidal and you don't mind people killing you, if you follow the golden rule, it's kind of it kind of makes sense if they try to kill other people. So I don't think you can legislate just based on the golden rule itself. There
mm.
is a particular set of moral values you should follow. At least this is what I see from the discussion after listening to you guys.
Josh, go ahead. Josh, you have your hand up. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I also wanted to clarify something too when I was talking about that. Like courts have ruled that religions can act upon beliefs. Something what Christian was talking about earlier. So the what the courts ruled is there's a two-step process in that. So if something is illegal, um, just being illegal isn't enough to exclude it from a religious context. Like American Indians can use peyote, for instance, but you can't sell
Mm,
peyote or buy peyote
mm.
legally, but they're allowed to use it in their religious ceremonies. But that's because it's a victimless crime. It doesn't. There's no. That's why like
Victim is fine.
sacrifice and
Yeah,
and things like that. So like as long as it doesn't infringe on someone else's rights, which animals have rights too,
that's sort of like, yeah,
then that's why
that's
you can't. Yeah.
that's sort of like
Yes.
yeah, what I wanted to highlight too. Like it's just a matter of that. Like well, I guess saying do unto others sort of like oversimplifies it in a way that's too biblical anyway. So I the thing about what I believe is like if it's a victimless crime, it shouldn't be prosecuted. So this includes drugs. Like in my opinion, like if drugs weren't like, but if more drugs are legal, then more drugs would be safer, in my opinion. And that's a more not a moral judgment. It's just like logically. Um, right now, a lot of like people die because of overdoses because of mislabeling and I mean not proper dosages like dosing and stuff. So yeah. Anyway, that's my position. But like Theo, I appreciate you highlighting the flaw in my verbalization of the matter. But yeah, the victimless crime. Um, if no victim, it's not a crime, in my opinion. And Danny, go ahead.
Well, just to go back on the Judeo-Christian thing.
Also, the state is bad. Okay, sorry. Go.
So I think when you look at the law, I agree that the law is the crystallization of morality, because it couldn't be otherwise. In my mind, I do not find any logical argument that would say that the law is not a codification of morality. But the thing is, the law changes with its time, and for the better or the worst, because at some point, slavery was good morally. Slavery was okay. Women not voting
most
or not,
most of most of human history that is
yeah,
true.
for most
I
of
mean, it's
human
only been
history,
like the
yeah,
last 100
exactly,
years.
exactly. Women being
Wait,
not being able
wait.
to
I
own
was, I
things.
just got back from the bathroom. Are you
Oh,
talking about women now? To
Yes,
talk
I
about
am talking
agendas,
about
what are you
women.
talking about? What?
I am
What?
mansplaining. No, I'm saying
Mansplaining.
that the law, the law is
You're
illegal.
missing Danny's incel arc.
That's it. Kitchen. No, the law is based on morality, but morality changed with its time, and there was a time where slavery was right. There was a time where women having no material possession was right, or not voting was right. There was a time where a lot of by today's standards, and I stand by it, are completely morally disgusting, were completely acceptable, and the law was changed. The law was changed to
Mm,
actually, like, control this kind of behaviors, make them illegal, and I think was for the better. And to me, the law is not totally and completely based on religion, even if I mean, it would be also silly to say it's not, but it's more about a consensus, and I think this consensus is what forms democracy, to be honest. Like, what the majority of people think is acceptable or is not
mm.
acceptable, and getting people to legislate on this. Now, how it should be legislated, at what level it should be controlled, should it be controlled or not? Like, well, completely different debate. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on the topic.
Christian has something to say. Go ahead, Christian.
I think that's the first time I've ever raised my hand. I wanted to introduce this one aspect of this whole thing, and it's really interesting and never gets talked about. And that
Mm,
is because the Christian church has almost completely forgot about it, almost doesn't understand it, uh, doesn't study it, but it's appreciated within the more esoteric communities. That is, and it's true for both. And it was anciently, historically understood by the Christian church. And that is this concept that the spiritual flows into the physical. Okay, in
mm,
the scriptures, you'll find God will answer the heavens and the heavens will answer the earth. And there's other references that what you do is really a pathway for the influence or the fruits of what you sow spiritually. Like I say, the esoteric disciplines understand this. And believe it or not, words, code, language is a major vehicle for this. Words are conveyance for spirit and symbolism. That's why symbolism is a big deal in esoterics. But my point simply is that whether you're on the anti-God esotericism or whether you're within the godly community and you want to sow the good fruits, the point is that both sides understand that there is no action without a consequence. And when I
But
was a kid, we studied that all these ancient empires fell apart. No matter how strong they were, no matter how technologically advanced. You can go back as far as the legends of Atlantis. And what tore every one of them apart, from Rome all the way back there up to the current, it was the disintegration of moral values.
mm,
So when we talk about, oh, well, maybe it's okay for this alternative to this Judeo Christian ethos, the thing you have to keep coming back to is, do we see consequences that are making us better or disintegrating our civilization, our communities, our families, our communities, that type of thing? Just throwing that out there.
I
go ahead, Josh.
Oh, sorry, I was gonna raise my hand. I forgot. But
Yeah, it's okay. No, no problem. Yeah.
no, I was gonna say, going back to your drug thing. What and sort of what Christian's saying, like, also what Christian's saying is, um, I actually was a big proponent of just legalize everything, like let the markets work it out. But but
Mm,
someone but someone I don't know. I've come around to saying maybe like possibly the dealers are committing crimes because they're killing people. At least that's what. At least I've heard a lot of strong arguments to that effect. That like the users shouldn't be punished, but dealers should be, because dealers are directly killing
mm,
people.
mm.
Like if someone was going around selling meat and the meat was killing people, they would go to jail.
Okay.
So what?
Well,
So why wouldn't you do the same thing for the drugs?
yeah, yeah. But like it's in the context of meat. Like if you're effectively making these drugs like fully legal. Like if all drugs are legal, like okay, marijuana, right? Ganja, the devil's weed, right? That's legal now in a lot of states.
A lot of
And
yeah. Well,
yeah,
and
not
it's
all states, not federally,
yeah.
I know, but like um here's the thing: you can still arrest someone if they make a bad batch. Like that's still a thing. Like just like a bad batch of meat.
Well, I think marijuana is a very specific. Like marijuana is an unusual in the drugs case because you can't really overdose on marijuana. So like, like there's not
Well,
a whole lot of drugs. There's
even
not a whole lot of
even
drugs
then you
you
can, even though
physically
you
can't
can,
overdose on.
It's not a
you can
drug.
still you can
It wasn't
still you
made.
can still get a, yeah, you can. Sorry, Christian, go ahead.
Yeah.
I think
I'm
I'm
just
lagging.
saying. I'm just saying it's not a drug. It was classified as a drug, but it's no more a drug than vitamin C. It's not made in any
Okay.
way. It's not manufactured. It's just grown.
I
Yeah.
just feel that like that definition should be like
So
wider.
it's cyanide.
So it's like,
It's true.
I,
Sorry, I
here's
had
the
to.
thing. It's okay. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. I feel that like if it's your choice and you're doing it, and you're like even suicide shouldn't be a crime. Like if you're taking you insist on taking a drug that hurts you, but like that you like taking, and it's your own choice, and you're not compelled to do it by someone else, then it should be legal. And that's in my opinion. Like not a lot of people agree. Like not everyone agrees. Some people do, but like
Well, it's just that there's some drugs that are so addictive that you don't have a choice once you try them. You know what I mean? Like if you inject heroin, you're gonna want to inject heroin again. There's nothing.
as long
Everyone
as you're informed of the risk,
you
like
know
if you're trapped, like again, if you're not compelled to do it, like if the fact of like the argument, like did you watch that movie Thank You for Smoking? Like Thank You for
I don't
Smoking.
know.
No,
I don't
you
think so.
haven't watched Thank You for Smoking?
I
Oh
don't think
dude,
so.
that's the best Aaron Sorkin movie ever. Wait, Thank You for Smoking. I'm gonna post that on Myriad. Thank You for Smoking. uh that's actually one of like the main arguments within that.
Well, I just some drugs are designed. I mean, like some
Okay,
drugs are specifically designed to make you, to
that's
make
that's
you.
that's that's sort of like the point of the movie. Like tobacco was designed to particularly like it's to addict you. That's the point of the movie, and it's a
Damn,
very
lady.
good movie. It's the legendary fucking movie. I can't believe you haven't watched it, man. Like Nick Naylor,
I'm just
this is
an
very
I'm just an uncultured couth.
you are. But yeah, that's sort of the point. Like tobacco does the same thing. And the thing is, yes, it's probably going to cause a lot of addiction, but it's going to like reduce a lot of deaths because like a lot of the deaths are not because of addiction. A lot of the deaths are because of tainted goods, like tainted opium, heroin, whatever.
Well, like fentanyl. I mean, you can't. I mean, even if you have properly labeled fentanyl, you have overdoses because
Yes, I
it's
mean
so
true,
dangerous.
but that also makes it a crime to actually like right now, like there's this. I'm playing this game, Cyberpunk 2077, right? It's a libertarian future where like states have all the power. The federal government is like just a part of Florida and whatever. But like there's this one point. I'm getting to my point. There are ads for drugs like come to Danny's. We have the cleanest speed you can get, like speed as in the drug speed, right? And it's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm all for that kind of future. Not because I'm pro drugs or whatever. I don't take drugs. I haven't even, you know, taken weed. I don't even get drunk a lot. So a lot. So, so my point is like if you have like you have the if you're an individualist and you're if you, and you're focused in like your own personal agency, and agency is like a very strong word for me. Danny knows this, right? That agency should allow you to take drugs and know the risks exactly, and basically know all the things that can happen to you, while actually also understanding what yeah that these drugs are in a way like you can like if you get a bad batch you can sue, or like make it as adversarial as possible. Make it like a PvP thing. Like this heroin's bad, not because of heroin being bad right now, but like heroin's bad because there's so many things that are mixed into heroin that are actually poison. Like there's no suggested ingredients for heroin. Danny, you had your hand up since the
Yeah,
beginning.
just this is actually a great example when you say that I don't get drunk a lot, and about morals and about law and about there was a time where alcohol was prohibited, right? And it came back. And alcohol is actually a hell of a drug. A lot of people die of it every year, and it causes car crashes and bad behavior. And alcohol, for some people, is a complete bane. But it's legal, and there are taxes. And when some people try to say, no, alcohol is actually really, really bad and we should get rid of it, the popular voice was, what the fuck? And everybody, there was a consensus reached to say that alcohol was legal again. And what do we have now? We have Alcoholic Anonymous. We have a lot of knowledge about alcohol and what it does, and the consensus is at your own risks, even if it can be harmful for others. So I think that's a great example of how the law evolves to to match the consensus of society.
Josh, you have your hand up,
Yeah.
Josh. You there?
Well, yeah. So you mentioned the agency, but that's where I was. That's where sort of someone is or that's where I've been sort of convinced by some people about
Mm.
going after the dealer aspect of it, because the like you don't, like, it takes away, like if you, like you Pendu right now, like if you someone convinced you to try heroin, like you'd probably sell all of your crypto and be moved out into like the street in like 3 months. but but I'm just saying that, like, that's a legitimate truth, and I've known people personally who've gotten into like stuff like that, like it's a matter of
Yeah,
weeks
I,
before they're like selling their furniture
I don't disagree
and
with going after dealers, Josh, right
yeah,
now
yeah.
because they're
But
criminals.
I'm just saying that there's certain things there's no safe way to do it. Like that's why weed doesn't fit. That's why weed's always been the outlier, because it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit with that acute. It's an acute thing, right? It's not.
I would
I
disagree.
mean, you can smoke a cigarette and you can maybe. I don't think you're ever gonna. I mean, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but nobody's ever smoked one cigarette and been like, that's really good. I want to do another one. Usually, like, you're around it, you do it a little bit. I mean, I've never smoked personally, but that's what my dad said he hated it at first, and then he got himself, and then he thought it was cool, so he made himself do it until he could tolerate it. But
Not a doctor.
I don't.
I can't really comment on like the addictive part of the things that like
Well, I was
there's.
just asking Danny because Danny does smoke, so I didn't know if it was.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean,
Yeah.
I mean, in your experience, Danny, was it? Did you just try one time and you're like, that's delicious, and you just kept doing it, or, I don't,
Actually, that's I'm a bit of a special case because I didn't start with cigarettes. I started with BDs, Indian eucalyptus cigarettes, and
Oh, wait.
shisha
This
and
is
cigars. I like the
this
taste
is
of tobacco.
eucalyptus. This is
Yeah,
eucalyptus, by
yeah.
the way.
I like the
Yeah.
taste of tobacco, so I can't actually comment on this because I started smoking stronger stuff because I was super super duper stressed, and then I started drinking the same way. I stopped drinking, I couldn't stop smoking, but tobacco is actually extremely addictive, and if you have
well,
one,
I'm just talking about,
yeah,
like, I'm just talking about, like
another
levels of
magic pill.
addiction
There's
and acute effects.
hmm.
Mm, mm,
That's what like if you the first time a lot of people try a lot of drugs, they die. That's why you get all those. I mean, not a huge proportion, but
You really should
there's
watch
a
Thank You for
non-zero.
Smoking. You really should watch Thank You for Smoking. Here's what I'm saying, right? Like, if, if it's illegal, if it's a legal product, illegal substance, the either governments or states can legislate for basically reducing a certain aspect of it. Like this is too addictive, so you need to have warnings everywhere. You can't advertise in basketball courts or whatever, or sports matches, because this is like cigarettes are like that. And in terms of like even the product design, if it has too much nicotine, then that's shouldn't be like something that we can put within like our class of legal tobacco products, right? But you can't do that with drugs because they're all illegal. So what happens is like they just keep optimizing for addictive properties. You know what I'm saying? Like because there's actually like, because it's outside of the system, it cannot be helped by the system or fixed by the system, and that's why it gets worse and worse. That's why the innovations in the drug market is all towards basically making it more addictive. If opium was legal since the 1900s, for example, and still legal now, we probably have opium that is we'd probably have heroin that is non-addictive, for example, because research would be put towards that, right? I mean, it's just an accident that tobacco managed to be there instead. Also, this is a menthol eucalyptus. It's a Chinese thing. It's very good. I am actually addicted to it. So
I
yeah.
believe we believe you're not snorting some kind of weird
Oh God, look
exotic
at that.
paste. Hey, I have a
Oh,
question. We've talked about sex, drugs. When is rock and roll
rock and
coming?
roll. Chestnuts. No, I don't want to sing it. I don't want to try again.
Oh well, for the outro, you could actually
Okay.
finish the song.
This is actually, yeah, this has been a very good Christmas episode in my opinion. Merry Christmas one and all. Happy New Year and happy holidays for Danny.
What? Wait. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm gonna be on holidays. I was like, what's
And
yeah,
no,
but
no, it's
yes.
happy holidays because it's secular. Because it's
Oh,
secular.
because it's secular.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
Yes,
but
yes.
I'm very tolerant, and I'm not the
Okay,
government, so you
okay.
can
And
say
happy
Christmas.
Hanukkah to Theo. And with that, I'm going to close it all with a song, and the song is no, I don't want to embarrass myself again. I'm sorry. No, no, no. I'm gonna just gonna close this. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your year, which is coming really soon. Thank you for joining us for Myriad of Chains. And blockchains burning bright in governance debates. Whistleblowers nipping at the secrets exposed. Decentralized anthems rise above the state. And folks dressed up in the freedom that they chose.